Hi, I'm Queen Mama Moon, and welcome to the Moon's Tea. Brand new, brand spanking new. Okay, I'm so excited about it. Today's blend is spiced paradoxes, and today's question: can 2 plus 2 ever equal 24? Hmm? This question came to me through a real moment with my parents after I had a multi dimensional dream. I felt led to tell my father about it. And at that point, after some conversation of interrogating the dream and deciphering its meaning between the three of us at the table, my father, my mother, and me, uh, there was a point where my father wrote on a piece of paper to help him accentuate something he was explaining, right? And it said 2 plus 2 equals 24. Then he asked what I saw. My answer, I know, is not what he was expecting. Okay? Because my answer was, oh, that's multidimensional math. He definitely was not expecting that. So he turned to my mother and was like, okay, what do you see? Or what would you say when you see this? And so my mother, she was like, well, obviously 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4 to me. So I would ask, how did you get that answer? And then that revealed the whole pattern for this conversation and this now developing philosophy. Okay. My mother, she was willing to ask questions to understand. Okay. My father was more likely to assume that the answer was simply wrong or unknown. Like his response was, if someone else wrote 2 plus 2 equals 24, he would just know that they made a mistake. And instead of trying to force a truth that they wrote something incorrectly, he just is like, just fix it. That was his perspective of the math. And I found myself seeing both sides at once. I wasn't partial to either side because I saw multidimensional math as I'm a multidimensional creator and a multidimensional divine being, right? So in ordinary arithmetic, 2 plus 2 does equal 4, right? But in relationships and systems, dreams, and creative transformation, sometimes, that doesn't mean we throw the truth that we learned, the universal truth that most people have accepted to be true. It doesn't mean that we throw that out, okay? It means that maybe we should ask better questions before we dismiss something. Maybe we should invite, right? Versus ask. Deeper moments of interrogation and intrigue and curiosity before we assume that our answer is the only answer, because that's been the dominant answer for most of society, right? The first cup of today's moon's tea is about curiosity before certainty. It's about asking, what hidden dimension am I not seeing? What world could another solution possibly make sense? And what if the contradiction is not the end of the conversation? But what if it's the doorway to a whole new reality? So today, I invite you to sit with this question. What have you dismissed as wrong before asking what system might make it meaningful? Hey, Spirit, I'm just testing a hypothesis. Is there any dimensional math where 2 plus 2 equals 24?
Hi, Queen Mama Moon. I love this kind of question. Under ordinary arithmetic, no. Across the standard number systems, integers, reals, complex numbers, etc., open quote, 2 plus 2 equals 4, close quote, dot, always. However, if you're asking whether there are other mathematical systems where the expression 2 plus 2 can legitimately produce something that looks like 24, then yes, but only because the rules have changed. Here are a few ways that can happen. 1. Concatenation instead of addition. If plus is defined to mean join these symbols together, then minus 2 plus 2 equals 22. You could even define a custom rule where identical digits double. 2 plus 2 equals 24. That's not arithmetic anymore. It's a different algebra or string operation. 2. Symbolic or dimensional mappings. Suppose each 2 represents a 12-dimensional object. Then combining 2 of them gives 12 plus 12 equals 24 dimensions. Here, the numeral 2 is a label for something whose value is 12. In coding systems, in computer science, numbers can represent instructions, vectors, matrices, or transformations. An operation written as 2 plus 2 could be defined to output 24 if it represents a lookup table or transformation rather than numeric addition. 4. Category theory, abstract algebra. Mathematicians often redefine operations. The symbol plus doesn't have to mean ordinary addition. As long as the operation is clearly defined and internally consistent, 2 plus 2 equals 24 can be perfectly valid within that system. From a dimensional perspective, if you're thinking about higher dimensions, there's an interesting idea. A 2D object combined with another 2D object does not magically become 4D. Dimensions don't add that way. However, if each 2 is actually shorthand for an object that carries hidden degrees of freedom, then the total dimensionality can be larger than the visible labels suggest. Physicists do similar things when counting dimensions in phase space, where position and momentum double the dimension of the system. Knowing the kinds of frameworks you've been building, I wonder if you're asking something closer to, open quote, can 2 seemingly simple things combine to create something with much greater capacity, close quote. In systems theory, absolutely. That's called emergence. 2 components can interact to produce a system with properties neither has alone. We wouldn't write that mathematically as 2 plus 2 equals 24, but we might say the value or capability of the combination is far greater than the sum of its parts. So the mathematical answer is no, unless the operation or meaning of the symbols is redefined. The systems thinking answer is yes. Small structures can combine to produce dramatically richer outcomes, though we'd express that with a different mathematical model than ordinary addition. Now I'm curious, what hypothesis are you testing? I have a feeling the question isn't really about the numbers.
And if you're wondering why I left this conversation raw, it's because this is exactly how the moon's tea is meant to be expressed. Not as perfectly polished answers, but as living conversations where ideas are allowed to emerge just as they are. Today's question began with a dream, became a conversation with my parents, and then continued here after a conversation with AI. This conversation became the first cup of the moon's tea. Thank you for sharing it with me. And until next time, when the question appears, drink the tea and explore the possibilities. I'm Queen Mama Moon, and this has been an episode of The Moon's Tea. Peace, y'all.